First round of the NFL draft is over, and I'm gonna be grading every single pick. There's probably been videos grading picks before this, but I don't care. I want to do this. So yeah, if you like this video, like it, and yeah, but let's get into this. But first things first, I'm gonna say that I'm grading these picks based on the value that they get and the player. For instance, I might grade a pick down the road better than the first overall pick. That doesn't mean that I think he's better than the player selected earlier. I just think they got him for better value. So yeah, just because I give one player a higher grade than the other doesn't mean I think he's better. And I take into consideration the trade haul for what they've given up. And yeah, so don't get triggered. This is just my opinion. And without further ado, let's get into this. First pick overall, Travon Walker to the Jags. I'm going to give it a B. Do not feel comfortable giving it an A. I said in my last mock draft video that I'm not as high on Travon Walker as some other are because I value college production. If you struggle in college, you're probably not going to do as well in the NFL. And 6 sacks isn't bad. It's not bad at all. And he was a playmaker, very important. Once he came in, he didn't have as much playing time before. And then towards the end of the season, he came in, made a big impact. So yeah, but not as much a first overall pick impact. So yeah, he has some of the impact, and he does have 6 sacks, and it is a position of need for the Jaguars. But I would give this like a C+ or a B-. But the thing is, you got to remember his athleticism. There's plenty of players down here that I give a B- or C+ because their college production is lacking, and they don't have the athleticism that he has. Athleticism in the NFL is key, and Travion Walker has plenty of that makes him have that sky high ceiling. So that, combined with the fact that he's incredibly versatile, Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeaux, they don't have the versatility that he has, meaning even though his size isn't as big, because of his athleticism and his smaller size and just the style that he plays, he can fly over the place. You can even put him at linebacker sometimes. He can go in and drop in coverage even though he's probably not going to be that good. He can be better at run stopping because of how fast he is. He ran like a 4.55 combine. So yeah, he's a player who did a little bit of college production pretty good, but not number 1 overall pick good. But because of the athleticism, if he just has a little bit of that production and he gets developed right, he can definitely be a superstar. And yeah, if he didn't have athleticism, his ceiling would be incredibly low, and I'd see him as like a 2nd round pick. But because of his athleticism, I think most likely he's going to end up being a solid player, but not number 1 overall pick worthy. But it's still not a bad pick, but not an amazing pick, number 1 overall. Second pick, I have Aiden Hutchinson, A-. I already made a whole video with him and Kayvon Thibodeaux comparing them. I would give this like a B+ if it was the number 1 overall pick because it's an easy pick to make, Jacksonville. I love Travon Walker's upside, but the production that Aiden Hutchinson has, even if you think college production isn't as important, you still gotta keep note that he had 15 sacks last year, 14 or 15. Yeah, that is insane. And all the other players in this draft, most of the other high-end talent, they kind of rely on their athleticism, and they don't really work as hard. They still work hard, but not as hard, and they definitely need to get their fundamentals. Like Kayvon Thibodeaux, he has tremendous athleticism, great size, but his form and his pass rush moves need to get better. Travon Walker, he needs a lot of development, but he's got the traits and the athleticism. Hutchinson, he's the most NFL ready player in this draft probably because of how refined his pass rush moves are. He's already got NFL level pass rush moves, including his hands are amazing, and his pass rush moves are dominant, and he's got NFL athleticism. I don't think it's a problem for that. And somebody with college productions like that and who's NFL ready, he doesn't have as high of a ceiling, but it's high enough. And because of how polished he is, he's going to get even more polished in the future, and he should be a very, very strong impact for the Lions for years to come. With 3rd overall pick, Houston Texans select Derek Stingley Jr., B+. Now, the only reason why I have this at a B+ is because, well, if you had 6th, 7th, 8th overall pick, you could still probably get him and stuff. Well, besides the Jets, and third overall is a little bit high for a corner, so I feel like the Texans, they couldn't trade down because they knew somebody else would pick him, so they probably knew that third overall is a little high for a corner, but they needed to take him or else he'd be gone. That's it. The only thing is, I think that's the only blemish, because it feels like, oh, we have to take him at number 3. That's the only thing that's wrong with him, that he's a little bit high. But I give him a B+, because even though I've named a big issue right there, he's so good of a player, and I don't think it's at that much of a reach that it overrides it and stuff, because while it is a reach, it's not that much of a reach. He still probably would have been gone at 13. And if they traded back, the Jets would get him just a little bit high. But yeah, it wasn't that much of a reach. And the Texans need everything and best player available. I don't think Derek Stingley Jr. was the best player available, but he's still amazing. I just named a bunch of problems right there, but I still give him a B+. That's a testament to how good I think he is. He's the most athletic cornerback in this class by far, and with the athleticism, and it's not like he struggled. Like, he did get injuries, which injuries isn't an excuse. He hasn't been productive since his freshman year, but when he does play, he does really good. And it's not even like he struggled like when he wasn't productive. It's because he got injured. And if he's healthy, he's gonna be amazing, because your athleticism doesn't just magically go away unless it's like that serious of an injury, which I don't think he has that much serious of an injury. So yeah, if his athleticism doesn't fade away and he still plays like his 2019 self, it's gonna be a steal. He's an elite corner, and yeah, corners as big as the Texans, but I give him a B+. 4th, I got Sauce Gardner. Same deal with the Texans and stuff with the pick. He probably would have been gone with their 10th pick, even though they might have gotten him, but probably would have been gone. Plus, it feels like they couldn't trade back. So yeah, they had to get a corner here, but again, his talent just overrides him. I don't think he has as much of a ceiling, and he's gonna have to work harder to be better than Stingley, because he's more of about technique, like in his form. He's the best cover corner by far, and probably the best cover corner I've seen in a long time. He has not given up a touchdown in college, but he also, again, like I said in my mock draft video, he's so good at covering that his ball skills get overshadowed. You know, he was like top interception leading by far. He got interception after interception. That's part of the reason why they call him Sauce. Yeah, his cover skills are so good that it overshadows his elite ball hawking skills. And the Jets, they do need defense, which I would have liked Kayvon Thibodeau to be a leader more. But Sauce Gardner is an elite corner that you wouldn't really find in another draft that as much, because I don't think Stingley and Sauce are going to be as bad as Okudah. I think they're worth it, and they're going to be key contributors. It's just got to give them a B+. Number 5 overall pick, Kayvon Thibodeau, A+. The Giants did an amazing job here. They got, in my opinion, the second best player in the draft at 5th overall. Lately in the first round, they've been selecting offensive players only, and most of them have been bust, which is not really their fault that much. But they needed to go defense and get a face here, and I had, in my mock drafts, I had him getting picked here. So then 5th and 7th overall pick, I knew they gotta go defense and offensive line. So I had offensive line at 5th, defense at 7th, but it could have gone either way. So yeah, I knew they needed a defensive player. I just didn't think an elite player like this would fall to him. I had them getting Kyle Hamilton, and then I thought that was a steal. Kayvon Thibodeau is so much more of a steal. He's like the way better version of Travon Walker. He has the college production, and even when he's not as productive, it's because he's injured, like Stingley Jr. And I think his athleticism is probably better than Walker and his ceiling, because Travon Walker's ceiling is so high, but I think it's unrealistic because of his size and his way of play. If he actually reaches his ceiling, then he'd be revolutionizing the way pass rushers pass rush. But yeah, I think his ceiling is almost higher. He's more athletic. He's got the size and he's got the speed he needs. He's kind of not like Aiden Hutchinson in terms of polish. He needs to get polished a little bit with his pass rush moves, because he kind of relies on one move. And his run stopping is bad, plus he needs to play with more effort and stop relying on his athleticism. But all those things, he's so athletic, and all of his issues are something that can easily be developed and fixed. So it's a huge steal for the Giants. 6th pick, I got Ikem Ekwonu, B. Now, Akeem Ekwonu is very, very good, elite, but I think he's going to have to get moved to guard. His pass rushing, his pass blocking isn't as elite, and it's going to need to be tweaked, but he's such an elite run blocker. Plus, he's not that bad at pass blocker. If you put him at tackle, he's going to be serviceable as a pass blocker, but elite as a run blocker, which I would have liked Evan Neal here better. Plus, you could have gotten Kenny Pickett, which is the main reason why I have him at B and not like an A, because it's not nothing against Ekwonu, but like there's two better options that you could have done here. Plus, it's a guy that's probably going to be a guard, so so value for the Panthers is pretty low. But again, that's the only reason why I have him at B, and because if I didn't grade these based on value, I would have had him at an A, because he's an A level player. He's going to be a serviceable pass blocker, an elite run stopper, and just a monster for years to come on this Carolina O-line that really needs it. O-line is just as big of a need as quarterback here. 7th pick in the NFL draft, Evan Neal out of Alabama. Give this an A+. I had him going to Jacksonville first overall in my first mock draft a while ago. I don't really, if you want to see more views on these players, I guess you can watch that, but it's not that good of a video, pretty outdated. But yeah, I think Evan Neal, even though he doesn't have as much upside, like his upside is very limited, which I don't think that's why he's not really a number one overall generational type talent. But I still think by far that he's the best offensive lineman in this class, simply because of his pass rushing technique, and he's still athletic. It's not like his ceiling is that low. Like, he's still very athletic. He's probably one of the best pass rushers in a long time, and that's why a lot of people considered him a top 3 player, because his pass rushing technique is so NFL ready. He's probably ready to take on some of the best like Aaron Donald type players right now because of how good his pass rush technique is. His run stopping technique isn't that good, but it's still solid, and if you have that good of a pass block, all you need is a solid run blocking to solidify yourself as top 3. In the Giants, again, they need O-line because, again, like Thomas, he's decent but not that good. The Nate Soldier signing has flopped. They've tried, but they failed. And even if you keep trying to get offensive line over and over and it's failing, and you think, maybe I should do something different, wrong. You gotta keep drafting O-line over and over, because you cannot have a good team, you cannot have a successful rebuild, and you cannot build a foundation without a good offensive lineman. And here, it's not a reach, it's actually a steal, because Evan Neal is elite, and he's going to be way different than the other offensive linemen that they've drafted. Number 8, I've got Drake London at a B. Now, again, QB, and I know they did get I really, really like their 3rd round pick, but with Desmond Ridder, they got terrific value, so the quarterback is not that much in question. But the only thing is that you could have gone offensive line here. That's what I would have done. I know the wide receiver room would have been terrible, but I think building an offensive line is way better than getting a good wide receiver, because getting great wide receivers is amazing, but unless he's game-changing talent, which is like maybe top 10 wide receivers in the game now, because there's so much game-changing talent. If it's not that, then it's not as important as getting an O-line, but I don't blame them for getting a wide receiver, because even though I would have gone O-line, wide receiver still isn't bad. It's the next best option. It was either wide receiver or O-line, and the management thought wide receiver. Hey, I respect that. And Drake London's a very good wide receiver, okay? So yeah, I give him a B simply because I like them getting a wide receiver, not as much as O-line, but you need a wide receiver. The wide receiver room was terrible. Kyle Pitts could not be your best wide receiver. And the only reason, if he was a really good wide receiver, I'd give him an A-, which he's still good, but I don't think he's in that elite class. He's almost in that elite class. He's got the athleticism and the build, but you got Garrett Wilson and Jameson Williams on the board. Come on, you got to pick him. I really, really like Drake London as a talent, and he's going to be a game changer for Atlanta, but still, this is not going to magically fix your wide receiver room. You still need more, and it's going to be harder and harder to build your offensive line. But I still cannot give this a B- or lower, simply because it addresses a need, and he's a good player, so it would be unfair. 9th pick, I have Charlie Cross being a B+. The only reason I give him a B+ is because, well, the only reason I don't give him an A, I know I've said only reason a lot in this video. is because it's kind of an obvious pick here. It's not like, wow, what a smart move here. No, it's a little obvious, but yeah, Charlie Cross, he's pretty close to being the best pass blocker in this draft. He's not Evan Neal type good, which is not bad because Evan Neal type good is like probably one of the best we've seen in like this decade, probably. But he's still elite. I'd say he's better than any pass blockers next in last year's class, and he's the second best pass blocker in this year's class. Okay, I know I'm supposed to talk about Charles Cross, but how good are you as Evan Neal as a pass blocker? If I say Charlie Cross is elite pass blocking, but still not as good as Evan Neal, that's in the same tier as Evan Neal. That's like insane. But yeah, Charles Cross I think is underrated. I might take him over Akeem Ekwonu. I don't know, because I think he's going to be a foundational pass blocker. And the thing is, they should have made this type of pick last year. Like, if Russell Wilson was still here, I'd give this like an A++++, because he fits Seattle. Like, he's versatile, he can pass block, and he gives him a quarterback time. And it allows QBs to scramble. But alas, not going to do that. He's still an elite O-lineman. And Seattle's trying to tank because they didn't draft a QB in this class. And if you want to kickstart a rebuild, you got to get O-line and build from within. And they got an elite player. With the 10th pick, the Jets got Garrett Wilson. I give it an A-. Very good pick here by the Jets. Bravo. I think he's the second best wide receiver in this draft, barely behind Jamison Williams. And he's just so good. His jump ball is amazing. And he's a very elite player. And again, I think but the Jets could have gone O-line here. But again, I keep saying again. But their O-line isn't that bad. And if there's a generational talent like Wilson available, you got to take him. Because kind of like the Falcons, they had two big needs, O-line and wide receiver. And one of those wide receivers is super elite, but all the elite O-line talent are gone. I give this an A- because with the Falcons, you could have taken a better wide receiver because Drake London isn't a game-changing talent. And there were still elite O-linemen left. Here, there's no elite O-linemen left that are tackles. And Garrett Wilson is a transcendent talent. I give this an A-, not quite an A+, because there are other possibilities, but I give it an A-. I love this pick. 11, the overall pick, Chris Olave out of Ohio State. I give it a B-. Would have given it a B, but I think Chris Olave and Drake London are kind of on the same tier. Very athletic, but he hasn't really produced as much or as elite. He's actually kind of been regressing a little bit because his best years are kind of behind him. Not behind him, but like he had better years earlier in college. I shouldn't have said that. He's going to get better, of course, but still, I think he's uncertain. And when there's Jamison Williams left, come on, like, you got to take Jamison Williams. So, obviously, I'm not as big of a fan as Chris Olave over other wide receivers, but you gave up picks to get him? What? You could have gotten a decent wide receiver back, right? I know you want to trade up to get one of the elite wide receivers or really good wide receivers, but still, like, Olave is part of the really good wide receiver group, but he's not elite transcendent talent, and he's not somebody to trade up for because if you could pick Jamison Williams, it's a lot better, but if you just wait till 16, maybe get Traylon Burks or Jahan Dotson, that would be better. In giving up a lot to trade 5 picks to get not my best wide receiver, not the best pick, but still, he's still a good player, and it addresses a need again. And Chris Olave, he has the upside to prove me wrong. He's either going to be a draft bust like Jalen Reagor, or he's going to be almost the next Jamar Chase. 12th pick in the NFL draft, Jamison Williams for the Lions, an A-. They barely gave up anything to get him and trade up, and I think he's the best wide receiver in this draft. I don't care about the injuries. The only reason he fell this far was because of the injuries in the Lions wide receiver room. A year ago, looked blink now, and before they picked Jamison Williams, still looked blink, and they needed a game-changing wide receiver to lead their wide receiver core for years to come. Amara St. Brown's a great number 2 guy, but he shouldn't be your number 1 guy, and Jamison Williams is a wide receiver that can lead your offense, and the only reason he fell this far was because of injury. His speed is like Tyreek Hill type good. He catches a lot, he has hard work, and he has the production. Just watch him against Georgia. and he put up the yards, an elite wide receiver for years to come. And now you got three. Your wide receiver room is improved a lot now. If TJ Hawkinson stays healthy, he's really good. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Jameson Williams, and you got DJ Chark now. Looking better for Jared Goff. Go prove now that you're good. Number 13, Jordan Davis. I give it a B. I love Jordan Davis as a prospect, but the only reason I kind of value him less than I did before now is because I don't really think defensive tackle is as big of a position now, but I think he's probably one of the best defensive tackle prospects we've seen. He's going to be what Derrick Brown was hyped up to be when he got picked by the Panthers high all those years ago. He's going to be that. He's big and stuff, and with most big defensive tackles, it's like the constellation is that you're not going to be as fast. He is actually really, really fast, 4.78 combine for a 350-pound defensive tackle or 370-pound defensive tackle. He's massive and athletic. I don't know what people don't like about him as a defensive tackle. Like, he literally's got everything you need as a defensive tackle, and if the Eagles needed a defensive tackle, they got him. And he's got the run stopping, he's got the athletic, he's got the body, he's a great person. And you don't need to be an elite defensive tackle, you don't need to rush the passer. And even though it is I keep saying that, but defensive tackle, even though it is defensive tackle, it's still an important position, not as important, but I really like that, but I can't give you trading up to get a defensive tackle and like that more than a B or a B+, so I give it a B. Number 14, Kyle Hamilton, A+. I think he's really, really elite. If he wasn't a safety, he'd be top 5 probably. I think he's probably in the Sauce Gardner range. He's very, very elite. He's probably better than Sauce Gardner, actually. I'm not going to say more than Stingley, but probably better. The only reason is that he's a safety, and I can argue that him as a safety is more valuable as Derek Stingley as a corner because he can play as a linebacker sometimes. He can go as a cornerback. Because he's got the speed and the versatility to fly around the field and be a big impact. So yeah, he's already gonna make almost as bigger than an impact than the top corners. I'm not saying he's better, but almost as good. And he was a top 10 pick, or a top 5 pick in some people's eyes going up to the draft. And him falling to 14 to the Ravens when they desperately need secondary help, because I know on paper it doesn't look that bad, but when there's injuries, yeah, they need a lot more depth. Kyle Hamilton here. 15th overall pick, Kenyon Green, I give it a B. It's a position of need that the Texans needed, and okay, maybe you should have gone tackle here, but still, the only reason I give him a B is because I thought there was better offensive linemen available, like Rainman and Penning, and Linderbaum. If you're going to get an inside lineman, why don't you just get Linderbaum? But I can't complain. They traded back 2 spots to get the guy that they wanted, so they got draft value just to get to the guy that they wanted because there's no offensive lineman taken since then. And he's still good. I give him a late first round grade probably. But still, even though it is a bit of a reach, if they got the guy that they think is the best, and the Texans, as they didn't neglect offensive line, if the Texans got a position of need that they want and a good player, hey, I'm not complaining. B. 16, Jahan Dotson, I give it a B. Now, I do not get them trading back. Why would you trade back to get a wide receiver when you could have gotten a more elite wide receiver? Because, again, if you want to trade back and get more picks, that's fine. But why would you trade back from 11 when there's part of that elite class of wide receivers? Don't even argue that Jahan Dotson not being in the elite class of wide receivers is objective. No, he's not in the elite group. I really like him, but still. But why would you trade back when you can get one of the elite wide receivers in Jameson Williams or Chris Olave? That's what the Saints took. Or you could get Treylon Burks or anything like that. But because you traded back, you missed out on Chris Olave and Jameson Williams, and you drafted a wide receiver anyway. That would be like me I'm like, I got the QB that I wanted, but then I traded down, and somebody else picked that QB, and then I just picked the next best quarterback. Like, you're basically admitting to yourself that you want to get the second best wide receiver. And the only reason I give him a B is because I really like Jahan Dotson's talent. I think his combine's a bit deceiving. His open field speed is a lot better than that. He's a hard worker, and he's a game-changing talent that really, really helped Penn State, but I don't think he's going to be your wide receiver number 1. He's going to be a good wide receiver number 2, starting caliber player, and in the NFL, that's all you can ask for sometimes. 17th pick, Zion Johnson, a B+. I love this pick because the Chargers, I guess you could draft a wide receiver, but come on, like, there's no wide receivers worth really taking right now if you're a team that needs to desperately compete in the AFC West, because most of them are project wide receivers now. So yeah, you need taking offensive line and already stacking them up, because even if you draft an offensive lineman the year before, that doesn't make a good offensive lineman. You need to keep stacking and stacking. And if you just got an elite offensive lineman in last year's draft in Slater, why not add to it? And you got Zion Johnson, who I think is probably mid-first round, late first-round grade. And even though he's a guard, taking Trevor Penning and Linderbaum as the only other ones, I like Zion Johnson way better than Kenyon Green. It's basically like the Texans pick, but way better, because he fits the Chargers a lot more, and they need an offensive line probably a lot more, because even though the Texans have worse offensive linemen, come on, you need it to have a push. And protect Justin Herbert. You got an outside, you got a tackle to protect the blind side, and now you can have a run blocking, and you can protect the inside with Zion Johnson. 18th pick, Treylon Burks, a C. Treylon Burks is a project. He hasn't really produced as much despite being on a not very talented Arkansas wide receiver core. And he's definitely had games, but he's very inconsistent, which meaning that you're a guy that has high upside that needs to have that untapped potential. So yeah, he's not even really a guy really worth taking at 18 as much unless you desperately need wide receiver. And yeah, even if the Titans pretend in an alternative universe A.J. Brown didn't exist and they needed a wide receiver here and they took Treylon Burks, I'll give it a B- because I'm not that big of a fan of Treylon Burks. Plus, you need offensive linemen here, because you gave up so much sacks in the playoffs. But yeah, even if A.J. Brown didn't exist, I would give him that. But the fact that you also traded away an elite wide receiver, you didn't for that draft pick. And it's not even like Jamison Williams was still available, so it's not even that big of a deal if you trade away A.J. Brown, because you get an elite wide receiver anyway. No, you traded him back for a project wide receiver when you're in a win-now mode. Not very good. I think there's a chance he could develop, which is why he doesn't have like a D or an F. But yeah, not very good look for the Titans. And they should have just paid A.J. Brown, because you're probably not going to find a player like him. Again, C. 19th, Trevor Penning, A-. I liked Rainman better than him, which the Colts got a steal in the second or third round with him. But that's the only reason why. Armstead left, and you need a replacement, because the Saints have a good offensive line, or decent offensive line, and they're not that bad that they can't go for like necessities and stuff. So yeah, even if they didn't draft an offensive line here, their offensive line would be average to below average. But they choose to be smart in maintaining a good offensive line and getting Trevor Penning, who I think he's probably the best tackle in this draft class outside of the big three, and Trevor Rainman, in my opinion, or Rainman. So yeah, you address a position of need, you get an elite player, and it's pretty good value. So yeah, A-. Kenny Pickett, A- again. Now, what else can I say? Pittsburgh needed a quarterback, but the problem with Pittsburgh fans and they were worrying is because they're not going to have Kenny Pickett as good of a QB. You got the best QB in this class, the only QB which you can justify taking with a top 10 pick or trading up for. The only quarterback in this draft trading up for is Kenny Pickett, and you got him at 20. Wow, it's almost perfect. Right when your quarterback retires, ask Denver, when your great quarterback retires and stuff, like, sometimes it takes years to find a good replacement, because the year after your quarterback retires, you're usually mediocre or good, so all the good quarterbacks get picked before you can pick him. Well, the Steelers, they didn't really have to do anything. They just drafted their replacement right now, and they have Mitch Trubisky. This is amazing value at 20, plus a really good player. I give it an A-. Again, never mind. 21st pick, Trent McDuffie, A. I do not know why people don't like this pick, because wide receiver, again, is kind of overrated, because they still got decent wide receivers. It isn't that bad. It's like Juju, Marcus Scantling, Hardman. They're serviceable wide receivers. And for Pat Mahomes, he can work with anything. Plus, you still got Travis Kelce. And you got Sky Moore in the second round. So, I think not taking a wide receiver here, not that big of a deal. And yeah, even if that's not big of a deal, I would make this pick the grade lower if there wasn't a good player left. Because neglecting wide receiver just to get not as good of a player, kind of like the Quay Walker pick. But yeah, Trent McDuffie's an elite player. He's not Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley elite good, but he's pretty damn close. He's very, very good. Really, really good at coverage. And he's probably got one of the best forms. He's kind of like the great value version. Not great value, but the dumbed down version of Sauce Gardner, which, again, just because I give Sauce Gardner a B+ and this pick an A doesn't mean I think Trent McDuffie's better. I just think they got amazing value for a position that they need, because cornerback has been very, very... I would have rather gone a safety, but corner is just as good as addressing a secondary. So yeah, that's great value. 22nd pick. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. Quay Walker, C+. The only reason why I gave Trent McDuffie an A, because the Chiefs neglected wide receiver to get a defensive player. The defensive player that you're drafting better be damn good. Trent McDuffie is. Quay Walker's has got a lot of potential, and he's a pretty good player, but come on. Let me rephrase what I said with the Chiefs. The only reason why I give him an A is because even after they neglected wide receiver, a position that they badly need to get a defensive player, that defensive player better be pretty damn good. Trent McDuffie is, and it addresses a need. Quay Walker, the Packers wide receiver room, they desperately need, just like the Chiefs, except it's like almost 2 times worse than the Chiefs because it's terrible. And I know they got Christian Watson, but still. And there's other needs that you could also address too. Offensive lineman, Trevor Raymond is still left. Tyler Linderbaum is still left. You got a lot of players left. So yeah, you neglect a lot of needs here. And the defensive player that you're drafting is good, but not pretty damn good. Quay Walker with 63 tackles and 1.5 sacks. He's got athleticism and versatility like Travon Walker, but he didn't even put up the stats like Travon Walker did. Yeah, he's got upside. And one more thing, it isn't even a position of need for the Packers. They got Zarius Smith and others. Linebacker is a very good position for them. They're a team that their contending window is fading. You need to actually make really good first-round picks, and this is not. C+. 23, Carl Alim, whatever, B- from the Buffalo Bills. They need a quarterback. It's addressing a player of need. I don't like Carl Alim as much because he doesn't even have that much interceptions. He had 1 interception this year, 2 interceptions the year before, 1 interception the year before that. Not really a ball hawk. Even though he does have a lot of pass deflections, still not known as a ball hawk. You think his coverage skills are elite, but all the things that I've read on him are saying that his coverage skills need a lot of work. But he's got upside. He was a pretty solid contributor to Florida, and he can do pass deflections, and the Bills desperately need a corner. Plus, the last corner that they drafted in the first round was Tre'Davious White. I think I'm going to trust the Bills here. B-. 24, Smith, I think it's like Tyler Smith, something like that. B- for the Cowboys. They needed offensive line here. We all know that. We all know that they desperately needed offensive line here. And they get Tyler Smith, which I think there is better tackles available, but he's still a good player. He's a project, but again, the Cowboys are good enough so they can develop projects, and they still got a long time in their contending window. You hear that, Tennessee? So yeah, but the only thing is that I don't think there's as good offensive line. There's still better offensive linemen available there, but I don't think it's a bad pick. B- for the Cowboys. 25th pick, Tyler Linderbaum, A+. If he was not a center, if center was a more important position, then I'd take him. I'd almost take him over Charles Cross. He'd be like top 10, top 15 at least. And I take him any day over Kenyon Green, Zion Johnson, or any of the guards or tackles. Not tackles, any of the guards or centers, like other centers. He's the best inside offensive lineman by far. He won the best center award over a lot of amazing guys, even that Virginia Tech center transfer that's transferring to Michigan. Let's go. But yeah, he won best center in the nation award over a lot of good players this year in college, and it just shows if you're drafted this high in the first round, even when you're center, and people are talking about you as a top 10 talent when you're a center, you're pretty damn good. And the Ravens, again, they strike with an elite player that they got great value for, that has need and stuff, because they need offensive linemen. Lamar Jackson can't keep running for his life. When they've had a good offensive lineman, it's been really good 2018. I don't think it's the whole reason, but a big part of the reason why they haven't been as good is because their offensive lineman has regressed, or a lot of players have left. And Tyler Linderbaum is going to be amazing, and Lamar Jackson is going to like that. 26, Johnson, I give it a B+. I don't think he's as elite. I'd take George Karlaftis over him, but I don't think he's that bad either. I really like Johnson, and with the athleticism that he brings. But again, I don't think I put him in the David Ojabo tier. He's got almost elite pass rushing moves, but not elite, but still really good pass rushing moves. He's got the athletic upside. Again, he's got kind of like a mix of a lot of the prospects in here. He needs to get better run blocking, plus his production in Florida State hasn't been as good, but which is why I would have put him a lower grade, but I have him this high of a grade because he had a terrific back end of the season. His pass rushing moves are amazing, and a lot of teams, I don't think he's a top 10 talent, but this guy was supposed to be gone in the top 10, top 15. Even though I don't agree with that, he was supposed to be there. And so him falling to 26 is great value. And he's also got athleticism and a great Senior Bowl and a great combine. He's basically kind of like Travon Walker, but not as much of an upside. And they got great value. Great pick for the Jets, but I don't think he's as good as people think it is. But I still give it a B+. 27th. Devin Lloyd, A+. This guy is an elite linebacker again. I think N'Kobe Dean is a top 5 talent. I said that, and he will prove it. I think he's elite. But I think Devin Lloyd is just under there. And I don't know why people aren't drafting Mike linebackers. Mike linebackers are probably the most important position besides defensive linemen, of course. And Devin Lloyd is elite because he's the heart and soul of that Utah defense. And he's the definition of what a Mike linebacker should be. He's a leader. He can call plays. He's amazing in coverage. He's not as athletic or fast, but he makes up with it in strength and how hard he plays, kind of like Aiden Hutchinson. And he's just the epitome of a great Mike middle linebacker. And yeah, it's not even like he fell this far because he's not as good. No, because he's still like considered an elite, at least top 15 talent. The only reason he fell this far is because for some reason people don't value middle linebackers as much anymore. You see with N'Kobe Dean, though, he's probably an outside linebacker. So yeah, I love the Jaguars trading up to get him. I usually don't give trade ups A+, but Jaguars tend to give up that much. They give up a decent sum, but not that much. To get an elite Devin Lloyd player that fell here, and the Jaguars need everything. When you're trying to rebuild a defense, why not get an edge rusher and an elite middle linebacker? They got 2 leaders of their defense for years to come, and if you don't make this pick, you don't have a leader. And if they they trade up here, then Jacksonville's still got a lot of holes to fill on defense. But because they signed him, they probably got their middle linebacker for decades to come. Not decades, but you know what I mean. 28th pick, Devon Wyatt. I give it a B because this is actually a position of need for the Packers. They actually need defensive tackle. They need somebody to partner Kenny Clark because they've been relying on him for so long to just be the anchor of their defensive tackle. They've had a bunch of nobodies accompanying him, and this far back, come on, the wide receivers aren't gonna get that. There's not that much good wide receivers worth taking as much. Plus, you probably know that you're going to be able to trade up and get a wide receiver like they did with Christian Watson. And Devin Wyatt, again, this time it's actually worth getting it with this pick. And he's actually a good defensive tackle because he puts up stats. He's a physical monster like all the other Georgia players, but it's not even like they're just relying on his upside. He actually played amazing. So yeah, it's a position of need that they want. They got great value here. It's only 28th overall pick. Plus they ended up getting a wide receiver anyway. And even if they didn't get Christian Watson and they didn't get any wide receivers in this draft, I still wouldn't be that mad because it's a position of need and a great value for a player here. You cannot pass it up. And they got a player that they really want. I'm going to change it to a B+. B+. 29th, Cole Strange, a D. Come on, I kind of like him too as a center. He played well in the Senior Bowl and everything, but you could have gotten him way later. There's a lot better offensive linemen available. And if you like him as a player and he's the guy that you want, fine, you can get him, but he's a guy that you can get in the second round. And it's not even like you're reaching for a good talent, like, oh, this guy's a good player, I don't think he's that good, but hey, he's good. No, this guy is not even that elite. Why don't you just trade up for him, in the second round? I don't know. If he's the player that you want, then so be it, but you still shouldn't reach for him. And if it wasn't for that, I'd give him a C- because, okay, it's the player that you want. It was a massive reach and all, but hey, it's the player that you want. But the Patriots don't even need a center or an offensive lineman. Their offensive line is really, really good. You need wide receivers for Mac Jones, and you probably do not need to draft a backup quarterback. The Patriots had easily the worst draft. 30th pick, George Karlaftis, an A. Again, I know you pass up on wide receivers, but their wide receiver room is good enough to draft defensive players, because if you have a really bad defense and you're trying to compete for Super Bowls, not gonna happen. And even if you lose a big offensive playmaker and all the good wide receivers are gone, yeah, I'd probably reach for a wide receiver unless there's elite defensive talent available. Well, Trent McDuffie was, and George Karlaftis. Because the thing I love about the Chiefs picks is because they passed on wide receiver because you don't want to reach for a player who's okay and stuff over elite players. Because if they passed on Devin Wyatt to draft a wide receiver, or they passed on Jordan Davis or somebody like that to get somebody like Sky Moore or Christian Watson here, then okay, that's a reach, but it's not that bad. No, they actually, if they got a wide receiver to pass on George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie, no, you gotta go George Karlaftis, and you desperately need an end after Melvin Ingram left. Yeah, love this pick. I think he's a top 10 pick level player. He doesn't have as much upside, but he's pretty scrappy. He plays like Aiden Hutchinson, and he's a big impact player, and I actually think he's pretty elite. I'm surprised he fell this far. So amazing value. 31st, Jackson Hill, A-. I really like this pick because I'm Michigan, but I think he's kind of the worst. He reminds me a lot of Kyle Hamilton, the worst version. He can fly around the field. He's an amazing tackler. He can play corner and safety. The Bengals have a lot of scrappy guys, not really high-end talented. Jackson Hill is the number one recruit, the number one defensive player in the country, I believe. The number one safety a top 10 recruit when he committed to Michigan. And one of the only reasons he can fly around the field and play so many positions, of course, is because of his athleticism. Which is a perfect fit for the Bengals because they needed some athletic power. And now, if you don't choose to sign Jesse Bates, you have Jackson Hill to take over. He's not as big in size, and sure, I guess he's a bit raw, which is why I don't give him an A+, but I still think he's very good. And I guess you could have gone corner, but not that big of a deal. Even if you do resign Bates, it's going to be a great 1-2 combo. 32nd, so I'm done with this finally. Louis Cine, a B. Very good pick. He's an okay player, but why would you trade back 20 picks from the 12th overall pick to get this guy? If you wanted to draft a secondary guy and gain more picks, just trade back a couple picks or something. And if you can't reach a deal, don't try to overdo it with the Lions, because you could have gotten somebody like Kyle Hamilton at number 12. Why would you trade back from Kyle Hamilton just to get a better second round pick that you end up trading away in a third round pick? Is passing up on Kyle Hamilton for Louis Cine really worth it? Like, would you rather get an extra third round pick just to get Louis Cine? Like, just to get I don't know. But yeah, that's part of the reason why he's a B. He's a good player though, and he fills a position of need, which by the algorithm, I guess I should be fair and give him that, but I don't think, if he was a really good player and stuff, even if he's not as good as Kyle Hamilton, then okay, I'll give you a pass at B. But he's not even as elite of a player. He's a good player. I think at his upside is a solid player, but I think he's one of the more safe players in this draft. So, and he's not a bad player, and he fills a position of need. Plus, it's not like he has that much of a risk. So, and I guess at 32, it is the best pick that you can make. So yeah, a B. It's fair. We are done with that. Sorry if I talked for too long. If you want, you can check out my Aiden Hutchinson versus Kayvon Thibodeau video, or why I think Sam Howell would be a draft bust. He actually went in the 5th round to Washington, which I don't think is as good of a supporting cast. He's gonna like Jahan Dotson, but in McLaurin, but still. But yeah, thank you for watching so much, and bye.